Well, Jim Campbell.
Well,
For a
indeed.
minute there, I thought Liverpool were going to get beaten by a team who were playing better football than them.
It looked
But
that way.
No, they did not. They won 1-0 in what is really quite an incredible night for Liverpool Football Club in Europe, but for slightly differing reasons than we've come to expect from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was now the dust has settled, because you're right, isn't there? There was a point where I think the way you assess a game like this swings, where you're thinking, God, PSG are playing really well, Liverpool doing really well to weather this storm. Hang on a minute. Maybe that was their plan all along. Yes. And that's kind of how it feels, isn't it? It was a very, very mature display from them. Clearly, everything was about getting the game back to Anfield and doing it on their terms, be that through getting a draw or be that through essentially getting a goal on the break. And they executed that plan perfectly. I love that it was the chaotic element of Darwin Núñez that creates that moment. Obviously, they'd had a few moments in the game, but not as many clearly as Paris Saint-Germain. But there was always a sense, wasn't there, that it was possible. And what I find really interesting about that display from Liverpool is through most of the game, like their passing was off in a way that we've not really seen from them this season. There was to me, that telegraphs that this was a kind of a bespoke plan where they would go there and they would be smart about it. They would be mature about it. They would know that this is a very good Paris Saint-Germain side that are full of running, that are full of pressing, that are full of energy. And you go there, you respect that. You kind of let them kind of huff and puff and blow themselves out a little bit, and you take your chance when it comes. And they executed that plan just perfectly.
It's funny how a goal can change things, because I think now the commentators were definitely echoing your thoughts there, Jim, or vice versa, depending on how we want to rank you among your importance with them.
They can't hear me.
Yeah. I see it slightly differently. I get what you're saying, because clearly Liverpool, they didn't go at PSG like they would normally do at other teams.
Let's say Southampton.
There you go. Indeed. The only side we've really seen not let Liverpool have it all their own way, I suppose, is Plymouth in recent months.
Yeah.
So, but Plymouth scored a goal, whereas PSG didn't. No, I think Alisson was the man of the match, which tells its own story. And so that's why I understand, and I think a lot of people would agree with what you've said. And I don't disagree with it completely, but I do think Liverpool were quite fortunate. I think PSG...
it's easy to make that assessment once it's worked, isn't it? Because obviously that game's fairly dangerous because you let a good team attack you quite a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, it did work. So ultimately you have to judge it on... You look at a football match by the performance and how it played out, but the result is also a key component when all's said and done and when you're reviewing it. And it's a glorious win for Liverpool, there's no two ways about that. But PSG completely pinned them back, in particular in that first half. How many chances did they have?
Oh, so many.
They have a goal. Okay, look, the goal's offside, so it doesn't matter if it's a toenail or you're 6 yards off. He's offside, so there's no point in mentioning that too much. But they had Liverpool on the ropes, and they couldn't take them. They couldn't, and actually, when people were saying, "Oh, well," at half time there was a lot of chat on social media and so on. It's inevitable. Liverpool going to go win 1-0 and Salah and so on. I felt that as well, but Salah just didn't have a kick. And yes, they were defending deep. Yes, in that second half, I felt Slot probably thought, right, let's really kind of, the only thing we can do now is play on the break. We can't try and do anything else. Let's sit deep. And the three forwards were quite narrow, and they were playing deep in a way that we just have not seen them do, because they've been so good. And again, testament to what PSG can do to you, because they were on a winning run. They've been playing some great football of late. And Andy said on the Ramble yesterday that the PSG that we saw in the earlier games in the first phase of the Champions League is not the PSG that are playing now.
The difference is so stark.
It is. And I mean, Dembele is playing like a man possessed in 2025, his goals and all his contributions and so on. So I thought Liverpool were living very dangerously. As I say, Alisson had to be it's a magnificent goalkeeping performance from Alisson, like just absolutely imperious. That's the only word I think that can get to it. It was, you're just not getting past me today. it was sensational stuff. And yes, maybe some of the finishing was a bit poor from PSG, but everything, even the balls coming into the box where he could only get a hand. My goodness, it was a strong
very
hand.
dominant in that regard.
He really was just beating the crap out of that ball, wasn't he? He was just like, piss off, get away. So this is all around and about way of saying that Liverpool, for hardly had any possession. We can say, it was a master. I would put it down more as a smash and grab than a kind of a master stroke. Although I understand both of those things can be kind of true.
Indeed. And it's a risky game to try and execute, isn't it? And maybe it was a game that they were sort of forced into playing because PSG are so good at dominating possession like that. But I think despite the chances and the shots that PSG had, it was like the more the game wore on, the further and further out they got.
Yes.
It almost felt like there was a force field around the Liverpool goal, called Alisson, that kind of just perhaps got bigger and bigger as it went on. So I think, yes, there were points where they were really under pressure, but I thought they did a really good job of cutting off lanes and cutting off kind of angles to shoot from, so that
second half definitely.
Alisson made some very, very, very good saves, but like they were from a decent distance a lot of the time. I'm not taking anything away from his performance because it was excellent, and he answered every question asked of him emphatically. But I thought actually Liverpool's defensive performance was very, very mature, and that was a big part of how they managed to weather that. Trent Alexander-Arnold had, I think, 3 really, really standout moments where he caught the eye with how well he stood up to, I think it was Kvaratskhelia in a couple of senses, and forget who else in the first half. But I thought actually they defended really calmly in the face of such an onslaught. I think it would be very easy, wouldn't it, for a less mature team to kind of buckle under that, and they didn't.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely fair to say. The fact that they adapted, that they for a team, again, who have been so dominant in the Premier League and in Europe as well, to have that experience to go, okay, we're under the cosh here. And you saw it played out a little bit differently in the second half. PSG was still on top and were much more likely to score, even though, of course, they didn't. But for Liverpool to go, right, we are going to have to, again, the front three, you're going to have to play narrow boys, you're going to have to sit, we're just going to have to ride this out. Because as you say, Anfield on a European night is the old cliche of it's the 12th man, isn't it?
Oh,
even if they were a goal down, bollocks. Even if they were 2 down, do you know what I mean? We've seen it, haven't we? Were they 3-0 down to Barcelona at that time? I know it was Klopp in charge, but still, Klopp's slot. It all seems to be as effective as the other one. So I think, a draw. I mean, again, Fletcher on commentary with McCoist was saying, if they get out of here with a 0-0, it'll feel like a victory.
Yeah, absolutely, because it puts it puts them in control of the game, really, doesn't it? It makes the game on their terms, and obviously, it is a really intimidating atmosphere there. So obviously, they've had to overcome that themselves. Yeah, of course.
They don't think that about PSG, do they? But they actually have a good fan base. I know they've had recently
extremely loud one.
Yeah, in relatively recently they've come into a lot of money, but they've actually had a proper fan base for many, many years.
Yeah. So, this is it's about as perfect a night as it could have been, in a sense, from Liverpool.
Given all the circumstances, absolutely. And it's extraordinary to me that again, everyone thought, Mo Salah's the man. If they are going to get a goal, they're going to nick one from somewhere, it's going to be a moment of magic. And of course, he comes off, and you think, bloody hell, again, it shows you how effectively Paris Saint-Germain have been playing up to a point. That point being putting the ball in the back of the net.
Point being Alisson.
Yeah, well, indeed, yeah. They've very much dominated 10 of the 11 Liverpool players here, by and large, obviously, as you say, decent defensive performances from Liverpool.
I mean, they will be kicking themselves, PSG.
Oh, it's just a glorious opportunity.
The individual quality of so many performances. We could be waxing lyrical about Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Vitinha was brilliant in the middle. Nuno Mendes did an incredible job on Mo Salah. Hakimi was very good. Like, just to a man, really, that PSG played really, really well. I mean, maybe you argue that Donnarumma should have done better on Harvey Elliott's shot. I don't know, but I was just thinking that they won't believe that they go into that.
It's not even a draw.
A goal down.
They didn't even draw it.
Absolutely. And for a lot of the game, I was looking at this and thinking, actually, this Paris Saint-Germain side look a lot more like what they've been aspiring to be for a long time. They've obviously still got some very big, very high-profile players, but the team works a lot harder, and they look way more like they belong at that level. You know, they look a lot more intimidating prospect than they have in the past. They've maybe seen looked a little bit like what they were in the past.
Well,
the sort of nouveau riche.
And as you say, had they have won tonight, even 1-0, I mean, you could argue that. I mean, obviously, if it's a late winner they score, they might have been slightly disappointed if they've only gone 1-0 up in the tie. But oh dear, when all's said and done, they lose it. And yeah, it's Harvey Elliott. Again, we thought the goal, if it was going to come, would come from the right wing off by a left-footed player, but we didn't think it would be Harvey Elliott. But
no.
Darwin Núñez with the assist. I mean, I think everybody thought when the ball drops to him, he's got a few defenders in front of him.
He'll put this in the channel, as in the English channel.
I wouldn't have blamed him if you'd have thought, "Oh, sod it, I'm going to have a blast here." Sure. Because, from 20 or 25 yards out of goal, whatever it was, they haven't had the ball up there much. And you never know, it deflects off somebody or you get it through a crowd of players. But he showed a lovely bit of composure to slot a Harvey Elliott in. And you say, maybe one or two others have said, might Donnarumma done a little bit better because he gets a big hand. I think the fact that Donnarumma is such a big guy and such a brilliant goalkeeper is that he gets a hand to it.
Yeah.
I wonder if another goalkeeper, other than Alisson, of course, but most goalkeepers maybe wouldn't have done that. So I think I hear what you're saying, but I think he does well to almost save it.
Sure.
And the ball's in, and then for the final few minutes, Liverpool looked like Liverpool. Season,
I really thought there were points I'm thinking
I thought they could
they might get another one. Yeah, absolutely.
It would have been outrageous. But the way they were knocking the ball around, they've suddenly thought, yeah, we're Liverpool this season, aren't we? It was just like, bloody hell, lads. The fans in the away end were oh my goodness. But
I mean, do you give PSG any chance of turning that around at Anfield? It's that we've seen the evidence that they're a very, very good team with a lot of attacking verve. You would imagine that the pattern of the game will be reversed at Anfield.
Yeah. You have to,
but it is only one goal.
You have to give them a chance only because of what they did tonight. The fact is that they should have really won this game. I totally get that the dynamic will be different at Anfield. Absolutely it will. However, if you're PSG, you go in there and you think, right, lads, we can beat this lot because we should have beaten them there. So they'll go into it still with a bit of confidence. I mean, I
hope they approach it like that as well, because if PSG turn out to Anfield and do approach it like that, even though it might be very reckless, and for that reason it's quite unlikely, it should make it a really, really thrilling encounter.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, just to chuck a few stats out there, Liverpool 2 shots and 1 on target. PSG had 27 shots, 10 on target. PSG made 627 passes compared to Liverpool's 220. Which is, Alisson made 9 saves, preventing an XG of 2.26. Now, people aren't really interested in XG, or some people aren't interested in XG. Well, I think it's not a bad stat to bring out. I mean, basically, on average, PSG should have scored 2 goals tonight.
Yeah,
and that's it. And Alisson, with that display, I'd say the one time he's beaten a marginal offside, but it was.
It's a lovely goal as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was one of those ones where if it's marginal and the goal reaches a certain threshold of how good it is, God, can they just have it?
The one thing I would ask though, Kanate. There was a VAR check on him in the first half, which was a big incident in the game. We've talked a lot about the game and the performance, but we really must talk about this because in the story of the game, it's quite an important moment. Did you think it was a penalty?
Initially, I thought it was going to go. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't. I thought it was a penalty. I thought it occurred slightly outside the box, and that he would be sent off.
Right. You thought it was a foul then?
Yeah, I did think it was a foul. I don't think that's that controversial, is it? That is a foul.
Well, I'm kind of still on the fence with it. If I'm honest with you, see, I'm of the mind that when people say, well, if that happens in the centre circle, it's given as a foul. But I actually think a foul needs to be a little bit more, and I think a lot of people kind of do think that, and they will suggest otherwise if it suits them. But I mean, so I remember something slightly similar.
It's like the absolutely correct decision to not book Miles Lewis-Skelly last night, isn't it? Fucking hell.
Yeah. Bloody hellfire. What a week it's been for English clubs.
Weirdly, I am all for the benefit of the doubt this week, actually. But yeah, is it a bit one of those, maybe? Well,
no, I don't, because that, yeah. You know what you're doing.
Slightly different.
It reminded me slightly, and I haven't actually watched it back, but just from memory, when Mason Mount was fouled for England against France in the quarter-final of the 2022 World Cup, and England get the second penalty, and Harry Kane sadly blazes it over the bar. And it was a similar type of shove in the back.
Yeah.
When the ball's played in, and I remember thinking, England were quite fortunate to get that. Now, again, I haven't watched that back, so you might say, well, actually, that was a softer touch or whatever.
It does appear to me to meet the threshold of denying a goal-scoring opportunity.
Yeah, I think, to be quite frank with you, whatever the referee decides, I'm quite happy to go with it on that one. I know that sounds a bit of a cop-out, but that's genuinely...
But I know exactly what you mean. So, I mean, you and I have been watching football for decades between us, as is everybody watching or listening to this. And there are a lot of them where it's just difficult to know one way or another, and it's down to the interpretation of a referee, isn't it? And you know... Had he been sent off, I don't think too many people would be going, oh, it's an outrageous decision, in the same way that I don't look at it and think it was a completely outrageous decision to not send him off.
Yeah, indeed. But my goodness,
just sit here on that lovely fence.
It was an outrageous...
more comfortable than you'd think.
Indeed. It was an outrageous win for Liverpool, for sure.
I think... I am impressed by it. You know, I know people are saying it's a smash and grab, and I know people are saying, there are probably people saying that they were lucky there. I don't look at a performance like that in that way at all. I think it was brilliantly calculated and really, really brilliantly executed as well.
Elsewhere in the Champions League, Bayern Munich beat Bayer Leverkusen 3-0.
It's a shame that this tie is just basically dead, isn't it?
Not for me.
Not for you, no.
I want Harry and Eric to win trophies.
You do, don't you? But
I don't. What is happening to the world? Well, let's not get into that, because genuinely it's just, regrettably, a very pertinent question. But I mean, I'm thinking to myself, I think I want Bayern Munich to win the Bundesliga. It's all just for Harry Kane. Get him a trophy. That man needs a trophy or two. If they won the Champions League,
it's been noted, hasn't it?
It has been noted. Yeah. I think if they were to win the Champions League with Vincent Kompany in charge, relegation from Burnley to anyway, it's a long way to go, and still, look, with Bayer Leverkusen, what they can do as a football team, even the tie is not dead, even though Bayern really have won at least a foot and a couple of toes into the next round.
Yeah, and what I mean about that, when I say it's a shame, is because I think two teams from the same country, you want it to be tight. You know, you want that extra bit of kind of spice and that extra bit of needle and that extra bit of however you want to describe it.
Like the Madrid derby definitely will.
Exactly, yeah. You want it to be, you know, competitive and on the line for both ties, but unfortunately it looks like that's not going to happen here.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Kane scored a nice header for Bayern to go 1-0 up, of course, and then I mean, the second goal.
Yeah.
Oh, what a gift that is. I mean, you're talking about keeping it tight. I mean, this is the funny thing. You know, these two sides, it's been hardly anything in between them all season. They've what have they drawn twice in the league, and Leverkusen edged them in the cup, and the last time they met in the Bundesliga, it was 0-0. And Bayern were kind of like, let's kind of be a bit more Jose Mourinho about this.
I think they were happy to get out of it.
Oh, totally.
Draw, weren't they?
Yeah, preserve that 8-point gap. And we were talking yesterday on the Ramble. How is this going to approach this? This is really going to be like enormously about the onus on the home team. What is the home team going to do? What are they prepared to do? How much of a risk are they going to take? And Bayern obviously get an early goal, but that second goal that is gifted to them.
Killer.
Oh my goodness, you could just see it on their faces. And then, of course, Nordi Mukiele gets sent off. It's a disaster. Yeah. I mean, and it's a very, very unfortunate one, but it's a horrible tackle. You saw in his face straight away. He's like, no, I really didn't. It's just like,
again, familiar.
Yeah. But it's like, but I'm sorry. I know you didn't mean to put your studs down his Achilles. But you did
do it. Yeah, you did do it though.
It's a signal. I totally understand from his point of view of that. But he had to go. Michael Oliver. They were gearing up in Germany for his arrival and the expectation of cards, but he had no choice there, and off he goes. And to be honest with you, playing what was it, about half an hour with 10 men. there was a chance for Bayern Munich to put that tie firmly to bed. Now, they made it 3-0. Kane obviously scores his penalty, as he does. I think that's 13 out of 13 this season. And on the penalty, I know Kane changed his technique, or he mixes it up, doesn't he? But he now deploys the old stuttery run-up to see where the goalkeeper goes. I remember that last season. I've mentioned it before against David Raya at Arsenal at the Emirates. It was very obvious what he was going to do.
He's very good at it.
Oh, he's incredible, because normally Kane, we knew what he would like to do if he really wanted to make sure, even though it didn't happen in the World Cup, but if he'd do that whipped penalty into the goalkeeper's right.
Yeah.
Do
you think
corner?
Actually, maybe that is part of his thinking? That if you get that technique right, you've essentially got a free hit, haven't you?
Yeah, indeed. And I think, he would have noticed what other penalty takers do. He would sometimes knock it down the middle, as we saw. He's done that for England and others. But goalkeeper's right tended to be his preferred position, even though he could mix it up. Whereas what we see now with Kane is what a lot of penalty takers do. But I have to say, there's putting the goalkeeper the wrong way and there's sitting the goalkeeper down, all that kind of stuff. And then there's what Harry Kane did, which is, stroll up, make sure the goalkeeper's a bit discombobulated, and then stuffing it in the top corner. I thought it was a great penalty.
It feels like a display of power, doesn't it? That to just smash it in like that.
Oh, it was a glorious one, yeah. But so 3-0, obviously they take that all day long. But Joao Palhinha missed a sitter right at the end. And Jamal Musiala was denied what would have been a glorious assist. The flick he does over the defender to set Palhinha up. And Palhinha, who is not really a starter there, he's been a bit part player. Not a huge favourite of Vincent Kompany's kind of very swashbuckling and attacking side. And a chance for him to really, put his name in lights and, because at 4-0... again, I know we've seen some amazing comebacks. Was it a bit too high
for him, maybe? Ideally, he wants to slide tackle the ball into an empty net, right?
Yeah, you've always got to put a ball in the right space just in front of the attacking player running onto it. Well, whatever you would normally do, times that by 3 with Palhinha, as in how far ahead of it would be, because you're right, Jim. Yeah, he wanted to slide that in, and
unless he's got a head start, and he sort of starts to slide and arrives late in the box.
Oh, what a chance it would have been! So, again, Bayer Leverkusen, 3-0. That's a tall order, especially as Bayern know how to grind out a draw. However, if there is one team who are capable of doing something like that. Well, I say one team, obviously Liverpool could do that and one or two others, but from what we've seen and what we've come to know from Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen, the tie isn't dead, and Bayern will be very, very wary of that. An early goal, the old cliche, blah, 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 blah.
But I hope that's true, but I think that might be the football purist in you.
Yeah, maybe. Play a back 3 with Eric Dier in the centre. Shore it up.
Now we're
Dodge it up. Get it done. That's what I would say to them. Love it. He came on right at the end, old Eric Dier. So you can still find him in a bar.
He'll get his medal.
Yeah, he will do. Yeah, and he with that victory, Jim, him and Harry take a baby step closer to getting their hands on a Champions League medal. Elsewhere, Inter won 2-0 away to Robin van Persie's Feyenoord. Mm-hmm. Would you call that a professional job? There was a missed penalty as well in that game.
There was a missed penalty. It's actually a very good penalty save. Mm-hmm. Marcus Thuram scored a lovely goal, actually, where he had to sort of stop as the ball came over, readjust himself, and just volley it in a slightly nonchalant way that had an unnecessary amount of finesse on it. It was lovely, absolutely lovely. And Lautaro Martinez scored a brilliant goal as well. So it was very, very kind of what you expect from Inter. Then they're not going to concede 3 goals at home, are they? Against Feyenoord, it's simply not going to happen. So that feels like a job done for them. They are very much they're
a force.
They're going to be a big problem for anyone who plays them.
Yeah. Well, I remember at the start of the tournament, but I think maybe even before a ball was kicked, and David Cartledge was guesting on the Ramble, as he does from time to time, and he said, "I fancy Inter for the Champions League." And I remember thinking at the time, going, "Oh, that's a lovely little shout," because again, a bit like the FA Cup, it does feel like it's quite an open tournament.
Yeah, but also you can win the Champions League based on your defence. We've seen teams do it, and they look very well set up for that.
Yes. We don't think Benfica are going to go through after playing for over an hour against well over an hour for against a 10-man Barcelona side.
Yes.
And they managed to lose 1-0 at home. I mean, what a goal from Rafinha.
Oh, he's absolutely brilliant. He's the last man they would want to play a loose pass to in that situation, given that the game in the group stage between these two at Benfica was, I genuinely think, one of the best games the Champions League has ever seen. Not just in terms of drama, but also the actual quality of the things that created the drama. Obviously, Benfica are cursed. They're under the curse of Bela Gutmann. Look that up if you're not aware of it. It's an amazing story. I don't believe in curses, but at the same time, this one demonstrably is working. But yeah, it was an absolutely brilliant finish. Off his left foot, rifled into the bottom corner from some distance.
Properly pounced on it, didn't it? Because it was a defensive error. And again, for them to lose that, having Barcelona been down to 10 men, and rightly so, by the way. That was
from the first half as well.
Yeah, was it 20 odd minutes in? They were down to 10 men, and they managed to lose it 1-0. I'll tell you what, it's fascinating. Still got the second legs to come. Very enjoyable evening of football, Jim.
It's been really good.
It has been very
I
good.
like the Champions League.
You at the moment you do, yes.
Let's have more of it.
Arsenal,
more and more and more.
Is there? You remember the old rule? If you didn't turn up to a game, like you like basically forfeited a game, you get a 3-0 loss or something.
I see where you're going, and I like it.
Don't bother. Massively
just rest everyone. Rest me.
No, just don't turn up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, in terms of resting players.
Yeah,
I can have a night in. Or out.
Or why not next week against PSV open up get a couple of, do a raffle, and a couple of season ticket holders can sit on a bench and get the last 10 minutes or 20 minutes or something. Why not?
How much? Get a suggestion box on the go at the stadium. Can you think of the most disrespectful things we can do to PSV? Give us your ideas, we'll see what we can do.